The discovery that shook the galaxy. The Zephyrian Council chamber buzzed with the usual arrogance that had defined galactic politics for over 10,000 years. Towering crystalline beings from the Andromeda system sat alongside the tentacled Vrex Empire representatives, while the silicon-based Corvini delegates maintained their stoic silence in the corner. They were the elder races, the powerful ones, the civilizations that had shaped the galaxy according to their will for millennia. At the center of their discussion sat a holographic display of a small blue planet in an unremarkable spiral arm of the galaxy. Earth. The humans who lived there were barely worthy of notice in their eyes. These soft, pink creatures had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel and were still struggling with primitive concepts like nuclear fusion and basic genetic manipulation. Commander Thexvar of the Zephyrian fleet gestured dismissively at the rotating image of Earth. His translucent blue form shimmered with contempt as he addressed the council. These humans are nothing more than children playing with toys they do not understand. They have been in space for 200 of their years. We have been traveling between stars since before their planet cooled from its formation. The Vrex delegate, Ambassador Krulthak, extended several of his purple tentacles in agreement. Indeed, Commander, our archaeological surveys show that we established our first colonies when this system was nothing but cosmic dust. The humans are newcomers, barely evolved from their primitive ancestors. What none of them knew was that at that very moment, on a distant planet called Kepler 442 bits, an archaeological team of young Andromeda scientists was making a discovery that would shatter everything they believed about the galaxy's history. Dr. Zixandra had been excavating the ancient ruins for 6 months. The structures were unlike anything in the known archaeological record. They were impossibly old, dating back over 50,000 years, and their architecture showed a sophistication that surpassed even current galactic technology. The metal used in construction was an alloy that their best scientists could not replicate, and the energy signatures still pulsing through the abandoned corridors suggested power sources beyond their understanding. But it was the symbols that truly disturbed her. Carved into every wall, etched into every doorway, were markings that looked disturbingly familiar. She had seen similar patterns before, in the data files from Earth's primitive human settlements. The resemblance was impossible to ignore, yet it made no sense. How could these ancient ruins, predating human civilization by tens of thousands of years, contain symbols identical to those used by contemporary humans? Dr. Zixandra's three-fingered hands trembled as she transmitted her findings back to the Andromeda's homeworld. The response was swift and harsh. Her superiors accused her of contaminating the site with human artifacts, of making errors in her dating methods, of allowing her imagination to run wild. But Zixandra knew what she had seen. The evidence was undeniable. Within weeks, similar discoveries began surfacing across the galaxy. On Proxima Centauri IV, a Corvini mining operation uncovered a vast underground complex filled with technology that defied classification. The power cells were still functional after millennia of abandonment, and the control interfaces responded to genetic markers that matched human DNA patterns perfectly. On the outer rim world of Tav City VII, Vrex explorers found the remains of what could only be described as an ancient spaceport. The docking bays were sized for vessels far larger than anything in current galactic fleets, and the navigation computers, when finally deciphered, contained star charts that included systems the younger races had not yet discovered. Each discovery pointed to the same impossible conclusion. Somewhere in the galaxy's distant past, there had existed a civilization of incredible power and sophistication. A civilization that shared genetic and cultural markers with the humans of Earth. A civilization that had apparently vanished without a trace, leaving behind only scattered ruins and whispered legends. The Galactic Council tried to suppress the information, but the truth had a way of spreading. Scientists from every major race began to piece together the evidence, and the picture that emerged was terrifying in its implications. The humans were not newcomers to the galactic stage. They were the descendants of the most ancient and powerful race the galaxy had ever known. As panic began to spread through the upper echelons of galactic society, someone made the decision to contact Earth directly. If these discoveries were true, then humanity needed to be questioned, studied, perhaps even contained before they could remember their forgotten heritage. The first contact mission was led by Ambassador Krillfak himself, accompanied by representatives from each of the major galactic powers. They arrived at Earth in a fleet of 12 ships, their weapons systems powered down as a gesture of peaceful intent, their communications arrays broadcasting standard first contact protocols. The human response was immediate and chilling in its simplicity. A single transmission, sent from an unknown location on Earth's surface, reached every ship in the fleet simultaneously. "Welcome, children. We have been waiting for you to find us." The voice was calm, patient, and spoke in perfect galactic standard, a language that humans supposedly had no knowledge of. But more disturbing than the words themselves was the tone. It was the voice of a parent addressing wayward children, tinged with disappointment and ancient weariness. Ambassador Krillfak's tentacles writhed with anxiety as he responded. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We come seeking answers about the archaeological discoveries that suggest a connection between your species and ancient ruins found throughout the galaxy." The response came immediately, without hesitation. "The archives show that your species, the Vrex, first achieved spaceflight approximately 47,000 years ago. The Zephyrians followed some 12,000 years later, and the Corvani achieved interstellar travel roughly 31,000 years ago. You have done well with the time we allowed you." The implications of those words hit the gathered ambassadors like a physical blow. Allowed them? The humans spoke as if they had been observing, perhaps even guiding, the development of galactic civilization for tens of thousands of years. Commander Thexfar's crystalline form flickered with nervous energy as he demanded, "What are you saying? That humans have been watching us? That you somehow influenced our development? This is impossible. Our records show no evidence of human presence in our early history." The human voice, still maddeningly calm, responded with what could only be described as gentle amusement. "Your records show what we wanted them to show. Every civilization needs room to grow, to develop its own identity and culture. We withdrew to let you find your own paths among the stars." Dr. Zixandra, who had been granted permission to join the contact mission, found her voice. "The ruins we've discovered, they're really yours, aren't they? You built those cities, those spaceports, those vast complexes that our best scientists can barely understand. We built much more than that, young one. The hyperspace lanes you use to travel between stars. We carved those pathways through subspace, the energy fields that protect your homeworlds from cosmic radiation. We established those barriers when your species were still learning to use fire, the gravitational stabilizers that keep your solar systems in perfect alignment. We have been maintaining those systems for longer than your recorded history." The silence that followed this revelation was deafening. Every ambassador, every scientist, every crew member in the contact fleet felt the weight of what they were learning. Humanity had not been absent from galactic civilization. They had been its secret architects, its hidden guardians, its invisible shepherds for millennia. But the most chilling realization was yet to come. If humans had been watching, guiding, and protecting the younger races for thousands of years, then they had also been judging them. And recent galactic history, with its endless wars, its exploitation of weaker species, its arrogant dismissal of developing civilizations, might not have met with their approval. As the human voice continued, confirming their worst fears, the representatives of the galaxy's great powers began to understand that they were not the masters of their domain they had believed themselves to be. They were students whose test period was coming to an end, and their final grades might not be passing marks. The age of galactic innocence was over. The true elder race had revealed itself, and the younger civilizations were about to learn what it meant to be judged by their ancestors. The awakening of the ancient guardians, The revelation that humans were the original architects of galactic civilization sent shockwaves through every major world in known space. Within hours of the first contact transmission, emergency sessions were being held in government chambers across hundreds of planets. The Zephyrian crystal spires buzzed with panicked energy, while the great hive minds of the Vrex Empire struggled to process the implications of what they had learned. On Earth, however, the atmosphere was strangely calm. In a hidden facility beneath the Himalayan mountains, a woman named Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a massive holographic display, showing the positions of every major galactic fleet. She was not alone. Around her gathered individuals who looked perfectly human, but whose eyes held depths that spoke of centuries, perhaps millennia, of accumulated experience. "The revelation phase is complete," reported Marcus Webb, a man whose youthful appearance belied the ancient wisdom in his voice. "All major civilizations now know the truth. The question is how they will respond to the knowledge." Dr. Chen nodded slowly, her fingers dancing across control surfaces that responded to her touch with technologies far beyond anything the younger races possessed. The monitoring systems show increased military activity across 17 sectors. The Corvani have mobilized their war fleets, and the Zephyrians are attempting to form a coalition. An elderly man named Professor David Kim stepped forward from the shadows. Despite his aged appearance, he moved with the fluid grace of someone in perfect physical condition. It was always inevitable that some would choose the path of aggression when faced with the truth. The question is whether they have learned anything from the time we gave them. Across the galaxy, the responses to humanity's revelation varied dramatically. Some civilizations, like the peaceful Melodian Consortium, immediately sent messages of gratitude and respect, acknowledging the debt they owed to their hidden guardians. Others, particularly the more militaristic empires, saw the revelation as a threat to their established power structures. The Vrex Empire, in particular, had built their entire identity around being the galaxy's dominant military force. The idea that they had been operating under the watchful eye of a superior civilization for millennia was intolerable to their collective pride. Within days of the first contact, Vrex battle fleets began moving toward Earth's sector of space. Commander Zeltereth, the Vrex supreme war leader, addressed his assembled fleet commanders from the bridge of the massive dreadnought Inevitable Conquest. His purple tentacles writhed with barely controlled fury as he spoke. "These humans mock us with their claims of ancient superiority. Even if their ancestors once possessed advanced technology, they are now weak and few in number. A single coordinated strike will eliminate this threat to galactic stability." What Commander Zeltereth did not know was that his every word was being monitored by systems so advanced that they could track individual thoughts across interstellar distances. In the hidden facility on Earth, Dr. Chen watched the Vrex fleets approach with a mixture of sadness and resignation. 1,500 ships, she reported to her colleagues. The largest war fleet the Vrex have ever assembled. They're bringing everything they have. Marcus Webb's expression remained impassive. "And our response?" "The same as it has always been," Dr. Chen replied. "We give them a choice." As the Vrex fleet approached the outer edge of Earth's solar system, they encountered their first surprise. The space around the Sol system was not empty as their long-range sensors had indicated. Instead, they found themselves facing a defensive grid of incredible sophistication. Massive energy barriers sprang to life between the planets, while orbital platforms that had been invisible to their sensors suddenly revealed themselves. But it was not the defensive installations that gave Commander Zeltereth pause. It was the ships that appeared as if materializing from empty space itself. They were unlike anything in the known galactic database. Sleek, organic-looking vessels that seemed to be crafted from materials that bent light around them. Each ship was easily the size of a Vrex dreadnought, yet they moved with the agility of fighter craft. From the lead vessel came a transmission, and Commander Zeltereth recognized the same calm human voice that had spoken to the first contact mission. "Commander Zeltereth of the Vrex Empire, you have brought your fleet here seeking conflict. Before you proceed, we offer you the same choice we have offered every civilization that has reached this crossroads. Will you learn, or will you be taught? The Vrex commander's tentacles curled with rage. We bow to no one, human. Your tricks and hidden weapons do not frighten us. We are the masters of this galaxy, and we will not be displaced by a species of primitives with delusions of grandeur. The human response was immediate and devastating in its simplicity. Every weapon system on every Vrex ship suddenly went offline. Not damaged or destroyed, simply deactivated, as if someone had reached into their most secure systems and flipped a switch. Navigation computers began displaying error messages, life support systems flickered uncertainly, and communication arrays fell silent. In the space of 30 seconds, the most powerful military fleet in galactic history had been rendered completely helpless without a single shot being fired. Your weapons are temporarily disabled, the human voice explained with the same patient tone. Your ships are unharmed, your crews are safe, but you will not bring violence to this place. This system is under our protection, as it has been for 60,000 years. Commander Zelterra found himself struggling to comprehend what was happening. The Vrex had spent millennia developing their military technology, creating weapons and defenses that they believed were impregnable. Yet the humans had neutralized their entire fleet as easily as an adult might take toys away from a misbehaving child. How? He whispered, his voice barely audible over the comm system. Every piece of technology your species has developed is based on principles we taught your ancestors, the human replied. Every computer core contains subroutines we embedded. Every power cell operates on frequencies we established. Every weapon system includes safeguards we installed. Did you think we would create tools without maintaining the ability to control them? The implications of this revelation spread like wildfire through the galactic communication networks. Every civilization suddenly realized that their most advanced technologies, the foundations of their power and independence, were built on human foundations. The younger races had never truly been independent. They had been children playing with toys, and now their parents had returned to reclaim what was theirs. But it was not just technology that bore the mark of human influence. On world after world, archaeological teams began discovering evidence of ancient human presence in their earliest historical records. Cave paintings that matched human artistic styles, genetic markers in ancient fossil remains that suggested interbreeding with human ancestors, and most disturbing of all, fragments of what appeared to be human technology buried in the foundations of their oldest cities. The galaxy's civilizations began to understand that they were not separate, independent species that had evolved and developed on their own. They were the descendants of experiments, colonies, and settlements established by ancient humans who had seeded life throughout the galaxy and then stepped back to watch it grow. Dr. Chen stood before the great assembly of human guardians in the facility beneath the mountains. Around her, men and women who had watched over galactic civilization for millennia prepared for the next phase of their ancient plan. "The test period is over," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of eons. "For 50,000 years, we have watched the younger races develop, hoping they would learn wisdom, compassion, and cooperation. Some have succeeded, others have failed." Marcus Webb gestured toward the holographic display, showing the positions of various galactic fleets. Many were standing down, their commanders wisely choosing to await developments rather than face the same fate as the Vrex. But several military powers were still mobilizing, apparently determined to fight rather than accept the new reality. "The Corvani Silicon Collective has declared humans to be a threat to galactic stability," he reported. "They're attempting to unite the remaining military powers into a coalition. The irony is profound." Professor Kim stepped forward, his ancient eyes reflecting centuries of accumulated wisdom. "Then it is time for the final lesson. Some children learn through gentle guidance. Others require firmer instruction." Across the galaxy, dormant systems that had slept for millennia began to awaken. Ancient monitoring stations hidden in asteroid belts powered up their long silent arrays. Massive construction platforms that had been disguised as natural phenomena revealed their true nature and began producing technologies that defy comprehension. Most significantly, the hyperspace lanes themselves began to shift and change, cutting off the routes that aggressive civilizations needed to wage war while opening new pathways for those who chose cooperation. The younger races watched in awe and terror as the true scope of human influence became apparent. They had been living in a carefully constructed playground, with their parents watching from just out of sight. Now those parents had returned, and it was time to discover which children had learned to play nicely with others.